How's this? How's this? Sound good? Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I love Michigan. I see a lot of the state. And I wanted to share a lot of the public areas that I think are really important. This is a map of 400,000 acres of state game areas, and I've spent the last 6 years conducting vegetation surveys on these lands. I cover about 15 to 20,000 acres a year, and I see a lot of great stuff, and it's really changed my life. These images I spent a lot of time interpreting aerial imagery. So these are two images of the same area, and basically I delineate different habitat types. I walk each one of these jigsaw puzzle pieces, and then I report the vegetation there and how it relates to wildlife management. So I wanted to share some of the game areas, the public lands, that are within about an hour of Grand Rapids. So I'm going to share 3 different areas. The first is Maple River. It's about an hour east of Grand Rapids, and it's a really special place. The Maple River was formed through glacial meltwaters, and basically what happened is, as the climate changed and the glacier receded, superglacial lakes formed on the surface of this glacier. They bored through it and exploded out the front, cutting across the landscape. And the Maple River is in that valley in the center part of the state. And the state game area is really spectacular. The forests here lessen the severity of flood. They sequester pollutants from nearby agricultural operations, and they are home to several species of rare plants and animals. It's the second biggest watershed it's the second biggest tributary in the Grand River, and it's home to one of my favorite forests in central Michigan. So this is an old-growth patch of forest. It's about 100 acres in the game area, and there are over 150 plant species that occur here, dozens of species of migratory bird nests here, including several rare species, and it's just a fantastic resource in the center part of the state where there aren't a lot of other features. Next to Muskegon State Game Area, it's about an hour northwest of Grand Rapids. Again, several thousand acres of lowland forest flanking and protecting a major waterway. Vast stretches of old-growth forest, just a stunning game area, and I really love it. It was some of the most brutal surveys I've ever done. It took half a day to get across this wetland complex, and it was just incredibly isolated and very serene. And it's 5 miles away from downtown Muskegon. One of the things this place taught me was that there is room for discovery still in southern Michigan. This plant is Mecania scandens. It's common in the east coast of the United States, but was only found in Michigan once in the late 1800s, has never been found again, and was recorded as extinct in our state. But I found healthy populations of this when I surveyed it in 2012. And what it taught me is there is room for discovery even in this century. There is wilderness that we can appreciate. I can't talk about all the areas that are near Grand Rapids, but I want to finish with my favorite. It's Algae State Game Area. It's 45 minutes southwest of Grand Rapids, and it's home to 50,000 acres that surround the Kalamazoo River Valley. It's where some of my favorite adventures in Michigan have taken place, and these public hunting lands are very critical, I think, for our region. And one of the places I want to show you here is an old-growth forest along the Kalamazoo River. Basically, there are stretches of trees that are over 300 years old. So we've calculated the age by aging a smaller tree and then using the size of the growth rings to extrapolate the age, and then estimated that this was 300 years old. I mean, there are miles of this. It's spectacular. Nobody really knew about it because nobody had done these thorough surveys here. I love it. How about an untilled prairie? So less than 0.1% of this community type still exists in our state. Less than 0.1%. And the majority of those remnants are on public lands. And they are ours. And they're a treasure, and they're important. They are critical for biodiversity, and these wetland complexes take care of our water. So I chose 3 game areas in the area that protect 3 major rivers that feed locally into Lake Michigan. And Grand Rapids is the 3rd most rapidly developing economic region in the country. And Grand Rapids gets its water from Lake Michigan. And if we don't protect these natural areas, as our population doubles over the next 20 years, we're going to end up like this city. So a drinking water crisis affecting 300,000 people. This is not Flint. These waters were poisoned by toxic algae blooms. This is Toledo in 2014. And Toledo is now spending $4 million a year to treat these toxic algae blooms. And why? Well, part of the reason is because of the shape of Lake Erie. It's very shallow, and so the sunlight penetrates to the bottom. Zebra mussels have also changed the algal communities, favoring ones that tend to cause toxic blooms. However, a University of Michigan study showed that the leading cause of this crisis was because of agricultural practices, specifically applying liquid cow waste before rain events or on top of snow, so that the rain rushes the waste right into the river, and the Maumee River has no natural areas around it. All the wetland complexes, all the forests are gone. So this waste went unfiltered straight into the river and straight into Lake Erie, where it caused these toxic blooms every year. And we're destined for the same fate if we don't start developing smartly, right? So these areas are critical. They are the last vestiges of wilderness. They harbor biodiversity. They cradle our rivers, and they're under attack. Last year, 11,000 acres of state forest were essentially given away to a Canadian mining company. And all for a few jobs, and basically we're just giving away our lands for a flash in the pan economic gain or some short-term low-paying jobs, and really politicians are conspiring to give away our lands, and if you don't believe it, you're not paying attention. So this armed militant group occupied federal wildlife area in Oregon earlier this year, and they wanted to graze their cattle on public land because they had overgrazed and destroyed their own land. This is alive and well in our government. And you know, if ecology has to replace the failed religion of economics, or our children are going to drink from dead rivers and suffer a profoundly boring landscape. And we all must work together to basically ensure that this dystopian future doesn't happen. Thanks.